good.
All right. Open the Planning Commission and public hearing for February 10th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. First, we have any public comment? No public comment. All right. So we're going to go to approval of minutes for January 2nd, 2026. Has everybody had a chance to review?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve. I need a second.
Second.
Seconded, so pass. Oh, ayes, sorry. My brain's foggy.
Aye.
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 All right, thank you. All right. Fingers aren't working. There we go. All right. So now we are on to old business from our last meeting, a sketch plan review for David and Laura Smoker for a proposed residential subdivision, Village at Hot Toad, tax map 530.10.00-39.00. All right. Do we have a presentation to go with this? Sure. All right, and where's the... Oh, okay.
Presumably this is.
All right, just for the record, if you state your name and...
Yeah, here, yeah.
All right. Good evening. My name is Will Kernodle. I'm with Plitco Engineering. I'm engineering representative for Mr. Smoker and his project, the Village at Hot Toad.
Your name again, please?
Will Kernodle.
Will Kernoble?
Nodal. D.
Nodal. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're certainly welcome. The project before you is, we're proposing 175 townhouses on 21.91 acres in the R3 zoning of the town. Your zoning allows for 12 units per acre, which is 262 max units. We're proposing 175. Open space for the site, minimum per the code is 15%. We're providing 19%, like 18.99, 19. The site will be provided by water upgrades, which will tie into extensions through Greenwood Point Apartment Complex and the Cove Enterprises property, which is down Route 13. Sewer connection will connect to the county sewer approximately in front of the Baltimore equipment. We're proposing parking. Your code is 2.5 spaces per unit required, which is a total of 438 total spaces. We're providing 438 spaces equal. Of that, there'll be 175 EV charging stations. That's one at each house. Each resident does have a garage, so it makes for easy connection point. The housing, they are 3-story townhouses, about 20 feet wide each by 42 feet deep. Each will have its own personal driveway and a 1-car garage, so 2 spaces on each lot. The residents will meet the 35-foot max building height and within all the setbacks. Each lot, has a minimum square footage of 2,000 square foot, which is your guys' minimum. We'll be providing a 32-foot wide paved roadway throughout the subdivision, including curb and sidewalk on both sides, with ample walking trails and active open space. We have met with DelDOT. They are fine with our entrance location. As far as improvements go, we will be required to do a little bit of sidewalk across, they call it the SUP. It's a path basically to nowhere across the little front's about 150 feet long. The right turn lane, headed south, south. We'll start about 3 properties away. It's basically mostly striping at this point. There won't be any closures of anybody's driveways. All the driveways that are on that side will remain open. The project does have tax ditches on 2 sides. Speaking with Denrec, they just changed the regulations again. When I first sat down with the town manager and the engineer, we were gonna reduce it from 80 foot down to 40 foot. At the time it was allowed, but now it's gonna be 50. I think on the plan it states 48 in one spot. That will be adjusted to 50. So the easement around the tax ditch, which is from the top of bank, will be a 50-foot swath for maintenance purposes. So it'll be a clear area. There's not allowed to be any trees or anything in it. Other than that, I'll be happy to ask or answer any questions you may have.
You are doing buffer around the perimeter?
There is,
I know there's an existing wood line to the south.
correct. And there is a planted buffer around the parking areas as required. And then obviously the 50-foot swath, but it's got trees. You got the railroad track to the back, and then the wooded area is pretty much buffered on that side.
Okay, and I know we had just quickly talked about this. Will you explain what's going on with the church since they?
Sure.
Since they
So in the plan that you guys have got in front of you, you'll see the church building appears to be over the property line. Since we did this and submitted it, there's now a rotation to the property. So the church is right over, I mean, it's not much, it's like maybe a foot over the property line. So this is kind of, if you take the boundary, it's kind of rotated just slightly. The existing entrance that's here now is within a existing roadway easement, paper road, you guys call it different things. We'll adjust that, and there'll be a shared use agreement with the church to be able to use the entrance. And same with, in the HOA docs, we're gonna give permission for them to use the parking lots that we're building. We need them for the 2.5, but we also want to be able to provide them with parking. We don't wanna take away from that. Mr. Smoker was very clear in the beginning that he wants to be a good neighbor with the church, and he is very open to sharing the area and the parking.
Okay.
We're gonna provide the crosswalks, all the striping and everything for the pedestrians, and should work out really nice. I mean, most of these folks in these townhouses aren't gonna have two cars max, and there'll be plenty of leftover parking, so.
So it's actually going through the church parking lot, that's where the road.
Well, the church parking lot's actually his. So the church has been using that gravel area is actually his property. That entrance is on his property. So it's really not taking it from them, but think of it more of upgrading it for them and sharing it. Yeah, he wants to be a great neighbor, so I mean, it kind of works out really well.
And for me, I just wanted to say on the record, I appreciate that you guys have a tot lot already factored in. I see it's kind of all the way to one side. Is there any plan for any of the other open spaces? Picnic tables or?
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely incorporate some sitting areas in there. There's lots of walking trails, so I envision some park benches in there somewhere.
Okay.
Where
Where are the trails? Because I don't see them.
So everything's interconnected, obviously, because you got sidewalks on both sides, but if you'll notice, it comes through here, so it's all interconnected here.
We need the big one. We need the big one.
Yeah. It's these.
So if you look along the bottom of the
Okay,
lines,
yeah.
there's trails that connects end to end,
It's a storm.
and then there's also trails that connects road to road
SWM.
in multiple areas, so that, you know, if you're looking to walk in circles or count your steps and get some exercise in, it makes a loop.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that now, from the church all the way in,
Yeah,
around the ponds.
Yeah, what about is that have fencing around it or something? It's right in the middle.
what's that?
The pond.
The
Wastewater?
stormwater management.
I mean, it's
fund.
like.
As of right now,
children.
no, is that a requirement?
Typically, fences are not permitted around stormwater management facilities because it's a safety concern. If someone gets into the pond
gets
and
trapped.
then, as you said, gets trapped, they have issues with access.
It's just that it's so central to everybody's.
There will be a safety bench built into the pond per state code, at 4 feet, they have to go 10 feet wide with the safety bench. That's typical throughout the county,
Okay.
or state actually, not just the county. I think Maryland's the only
And
town, state
what
that does
about,
the fence around the ponds anymore, I don't think anybody does.
I don't know how to ask this. What market are you
Mm.
going for here? What are we talking about? Are you doing any federal kind of,
What's your price point?
You wanna speak on that?
Yeah, sure, yeah, so, I'm Andrew Bryan with the Bryan Realty Group, and, I represent, the smokers, in this transaction. But this market is probably gonna be, I would say, starting off in the very high twos, just under 3, so the 295 to 3 1/4 range,
Okay.
most likely at the end of the day. And obviously, most builders would get into a project like this and ramp that up as it goes, you know, get the market established and, you know, so.
you're not
we-
doing low income housing or,
Well, no, I mean, there's no
I mean,
plan for that, but that's still, I mean, right now, you consider it kind of affordable housing, because there's still, that is
And
affordable
that's
housing.
one thing that we
Right.
spoke about before, actually with Mr.
Workforce.
Smoker, is about
That's right.
workforce.
yeah.
That's right.
level
yeah, yeah,
housing.
So, and that's what this is, you know, so it's folks that are, you know, it's not, there's a misnomer on affordable and
Yes.
workforce and low cost, and, you know, so it's hard, to there's really no low cost housing, it doesn't exist anymore. So.
But not I mean, I don't know how, is it government?
It's not a subsidized
Okay.
type
Okay.
That's
type
what I'm-
situation, at least, yeah, that's not the plan, just, you know, kind of,
That's for
simple
sure not
housing.
the plan?
what's that?
That's for sure not the plan?
That's not the plan at this point, it's just market rate, fee simple, you know, deeded properties.
Okay, so no, condos, these are all individually owned townhomes.
Either individual townhomes or individual lots.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's
It's not gonna be
they're not
like Heritage
connected.
Shores, 65 plus, is it?
But there's no
I
under,
mean, just, we talked about that.
you weren't here for the last one, and we had some over under,
Right.
which makes it a condo.
Right,
These are all just individuals, row homes, basically.
basically, yeah.
And I know we had mentioned before, and I see you've put the tail in for the connection to Greenwood Point at a whatever later date. Have you been able to talk with them about connecting pathways?
Not at this point, no. We're gonna have to get in there, obviously, to connect the water
Yeah.
and upgrade. That's in an easement that you guys own as a town. But the interconnection between the two has not been discussed. I would imagine, from a state perspective, they would love to have that, but we can't, I mean, it'd have to be an agreement between both.
Right,
parties.
that's what I mean, is if you've spoken with Greenwood
I have
Point.
not, I don't think you've approached them.
Okay,
We have provided interconnectors, it's pretty much definitely this way,
Yes.
because this is pretty big sized
That's a
property,
big
and
property.
it's likely to wanna annex in at some point.
Yeah.
And then you'll wanna have a second connection point there.
Yep.
Same with, it's a possibility that you can convert this parking lot to connect here if that ever needed there. So that, it's strategically placed so that if those properties do develop and you wish to
it's just
have that
an
connection.
issue that has come up, that
Yeah.
Greenwood Point has sidewalks, the Cove does not, and then the town has sidewalks, so we have these breaks,
Right.
which make it unfortunately an unwalkable.
It's not continuous.
Yeah. So
All of this,
we've talked about that in a couple different meetings, and just encourage
that's why this is
if
important.
you can speak with them about just if they're willing to connect so that it's a walkable.
Do they have sidewalks from,
Greenwood Point does have sidewalks,
okay, they do here?
yes, all the way out to their entrance. And that's where, trying to remember, I can't remember if it goes up the road to the senior housing and out to the entrance. I think it does come down one side, but the cove itself has no sidewalk, and that's complete separation, and we can't do anything about that now.
We were talking here about who are these neighbors here, to get us, not so much that we're concerned about it, we just help us get a perspective on who these neighbors are here and along this side. I think I know, but maybe I don't.
You probably know this
Well, I can't tell where he's.
Just
to the north.
No,
to the south and
South.
in
Down.
front.
like that L.
Yeah, I think,
You're familiar with these roads?
Was there any kind of
yeah,
hearing?
to the
that
north,
these
I've
neighbors
been
have to be
talking to those
involved in,
folks.
or
To
This
the
is
south, not so
only-
much.
Okay,
preliminary-
We haven't gotten that.
I'm fine that you're not talking to them, I'm still kinda curious to get our head around
You have residents to
what's
the
the
south.
context. Is this,
The
is,
daycare is right here,
the daycare's
Little
right there?
Sprouts.
Mhm.
That's
This
the
might be
daycare.
beneficial for them. To
Yeah.
have a neighborhood
Oh,
right
yeah,
next
yeah,
door.
yeah.
And then there's what appears to be, I don't know, right of way
There
or
is.
actually.
There is for the rest, between the restaurant and the daycare. There's a right-of-way road that goes back here, and there's a trailer
Next
or
to the
something.
Williams property.
Yeah, the Williams property. And
Okay,
then we have the Mitchells and Hardy Plumbing in front. And the church, of course.
yeah,
I assume that that's residential and I don't, is Parity Plumbing, is that a residential property or are they using it for the business? Do we know?
I
Who
don't,
don't?
it's a business property, I think, right at the moment, I don't think there's any runners in there. I mean,
Okay.
there is, you know,
Is that where
there is
the-
some
yeah.
runners that, from time to time.
Headstone place was?
Yeah,
Cause they've
yeah.
moved
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah, they moved
yeah,
out.
yeah,
Yeah,
long,
they did.
long time ago.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
empty.
That's-
Oh, I didn't know.
Oh, yeah, they
yeah,
moved.
there's been a
it's
few
funny, we've been
businesses that are
traveling,
out
I've been
there.
traveling this
Okay.
40 years. I have to ask the question. Why am I?
Alright, are there any questions you guys have for us? I think you guys have, I appreciate that you have sat in a lot of our meetings and paid attention.
Yes.
And we see a lot of that detail in here from other projects.
I wanna make a few comments. One of them starts out with what he just said. We really appreciate you've invested yourself in finding out what you gotta do, how to meet our expectations, getting it in this, and we see the results in the plan. And we appreciate that. I hope it works well down the line, because that's the rest of my comment. I wonder what this property will be like in 50 years. Oh, by the way, what's the construction schedule? Do you have some kind of notion about, is it gonna be phased in? What's that gonna look like?
It's hard to tell, it's hard to predict, it's, you know, being that it's a townhouse project, I mean, they can certainly put infrastructure in a little bit easier than doing, 100-foot wide lots or something. So I think but it just depends on, the true developer who takes it. So I would assume with this project, it's not a huge project as far as land mass, so I would think they wanna move through it fairly swiftly as far as getting roads and infrastructure done. This economy of scale will be there on site, but it's just hard to tell, I mean, and because it's market conditions and everything, as you guys know, takes a lot of time just to get through the process, so it's hard to tell.
You were talking 20 or 30 years or 5 or 10
Oh,
years?
Build it out,
That won't.
Yeah.
2 years, 3
Yeah,
years max,
2, 3.
depending on how fast they sell.
Yeah, 2, 3.
It'll sell quick.
Well, that one by Bridgeville Food Line seems like, it just feels like it's been zip. It's massive.
Townhouses are very popular now, especially amongst folks that don't wanna do maintenance in their yard. I mean, the typical, and you also look at the price point. Low twos, we seem to think that low twos is expensive, but it's not. That's the cheap house nowadays. not to cheap it out,
Right.
but if you were to take this same subdivision and we would divide it into single-family lots, you'd get maybe half of what we got here, probably not half. So the lot cost is gonna go exponentially higher. So a house here, single family, would have to be probably in the upper 4s or 5s to make and pay for the infrastructure of the same thing here. So that's the difference, and townhouses are just becoming so popular, they're gravitating to them, and they're making them, you can look at some of the ones on the websites, and they're nice, they really are
Is that
nice.
what, the ones, the new one in Bridgeville, is that all townhouses? The
They do have some new townhouses.
Going out of town, it's a great big development on the right.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
There's a couple, there's quite a
I
few
think
going
it's
on there.
townhouse, it looks like
Yeah.
townhouses.
They're very popular, and they're popular with all ages, and, and you get a lot of square footage for the money. Like
I have a
said, folks don't wanna
question.
do yard work.
Between 28 and 29, what are those two blocks? It's on the southern border.
So that is his electrical boxes for his existing,
Okay, that's just,
irrigation pivot, just didn't get turned off.
okay,
I
okay,
apologize.
okay. I was just looking at it, it's got no key, it's got no motor.
No, it shouldn't be on that plan. It
Okay.
should show up on your existing condition plan, which
Okay.
is sheet 2. It just didn't get frozen.
Okay,
Good old layers.
yep. All right, if you don't have any questions for
Well,
us.
I wanna continue,
Oh, you have more.
just to get some comments on the record. Honestly, my first look at this was like, you stack them up like dominoes, you know, brum, brum. And I'm not sure I like it. I like it better now than I did when I first looked at it. That's my problem. I mean, I can't see any legitimate way that I can do anything to stop you, to vote against it, if I have occasion to vote, and that's another question I have for us, what are we doing tonight?
This is just a review, nothing set in stone, this is
So-
open discussion.
I'm just getting that, laying that out there, and is this gonna end up being a pile of things in a row? Or is it gonna have some style and class and beauty to it?
I believe if you turn to
Yeah.
A100 in the back,
Third page.
now,
Yeah,
this particular example is just that, in this example, it may not be this particular unit, but as you can see, they broke it up with different colors,
Here,
different materials, and it goes way beyond it. They've got them with stone frontages, they've got bump outs, and, I mean, you can decorate them a bunch of different ways.
The one that they have in Bridgeville.
There we go.
I mean, the new one, it's very nice looking. I mean, I think it's
So-
very nice looking. Did a really nice job, yeah.
but this
Are
is,
the roofs gonna be the same pretty well? In style?
Well, I would encourage breaking them up
Yeah.
Mhm.
with different little ones. It does give it character. I believe you also have you can't see it in the picture, but there's a 2-foot offset between buildings. So one sits 2 foot forward, one sits 2 foot back.
okay,
So
Okay.
it's not a straight
so
line.
it's not a straight
And
flat
then when you
line.
add the different
Okay.
materials on top of that, it really gives it more texture and it makes it look more
Yeah.
upscale.
Okay,
That's the way it is in Bridgeville.
It's hard to see on that.
I do see it here
I do
between,
apologize, but there is a 2-foot, it's about a 2-foot difference in the front.
yeah, I see that on, you can barely see it on the roof
Yeah.
line. That there's the offset between the right pair and the left pair.
I mean, they've come a long way, townhouses have in the last 15 years.
I mean, and it is what it is, it's a townhouse neighborhood.
yeah.
All right, so, my only other issue, if nobody else has any questions, is for our town engineer, if she has any problems.
So a lot of things will be done when the preliminary site plans come in for review. Some things I would recommend looking at would be your required landscape buffers. For instance, you know, if there is a required 6-foot landscape screen from any lot that's used for single-family residential, and the property immediately to the south owned by Michael Williams is used for single-family residential, so that will require a 6-foot landscape screen, and the existing woods on the Williams property cannot be used for that screen as they are not on this property.
Which property was
Williams, to the south.
it? Oh, okay.
So, you know, and the different zonings around the properties, you've got highway, commercial properties in the front. And I know we were discussing the tax ditch issues in the rear especially, you know, and the concern that across the railroad tracks, and I know it is across the railroad tracks, but those are zoned, industrial. So be mindful
I was
of
confused then.
that.
What is that?
As I understand, with the changes in the tax ditch right of way and the railroad tracks there, there is an increased separation from the industrial uses on that side, but I would still be mindful of that with the residential here. Some items also to be just, you know, advisory at this point, the parking spaces that are shown half within the right-of-way and half outside of the right-of-way. My recommendation to the town will be that those are not town maintained, that those be privately maintained.
Where's,
On the entrance road, right there by the church.
This is-
oh,
strip
okay,
right here.
yep, I
Yes.
see that.
You know, because of their location, half within, half outside of the right-of-way, if these roadways are intended to be dedicated to the town for town ownership and maintenance responsibility, my recommendation would be to exclude the portion of those parking spaces from that maintenance responsibility.
Fair enough.
You know, but, you know, just from a high level view, you know, we've discussed the utility connections for the water, with the required upgrades needed just to supply the adequate water for this, which they've, you know, accommodated at this point. And once we get further into the design of that, all of those issues will be ironed out. They will have to get all of their outside agency approvals, and a lot of these things will move forward. So
One of-
those are my main concerns at this point.
When we met previously on this, you had a question, and this is for them as well, about sprinkling these buildings.
Correct.
And you had a concern about the capacity of your water pressure.
Mm-hmm.
These do not have to be sprinkled. They'll be separated with a firewall between each unit, and they do not have to be sprinkled by state code, so.
Is that because it's under?
It doesn't fall, because you're in Sussex County hasn't adopted that mandatory sprinkler yet, that's one reason. Two, if you put the firewall between the units, you're not required to have it. And then, obviously, the concern was the pressure, whether you guys would have it or not. We were, you know, the option there would have been to have to put a booster pump down here or something, so thankfully, we don't have to sprinkle it.
Okay.
And that separation wall goes from the foundation all the way up to the highest point of the ceiling, so it goes all the way up to the eaves.
Does it go to the roof line or
And
just?
it goes through the roof line
Okay.
and up.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's a penetrating,
Yeah, and the fire marshal reviews both site plan, and we have to provide that section to the fire marshal through the site review.
okay,
And then he'll also review the building plan for the same thing. So he actually reviews it twice.
So it don't really show through the roof according to this?
No, but it does go all the way up through, I don't have the section on here, but if I can show it to you, it does go up through.
Okay.
so, and speaking of fire, I see the one hydrant, sorry, time to feed the cats. I see the one fire hydrant here at your first parking, or second parking lot. Where are the rest of them?
They're
I
pretty
see
much,
the light pole indicators, but I don't
they're in there, they're ever, and I apologize, because normally I put them in red, but you got one here.
that's on a light pole?
No, it's,
Is that the
it's,
same?
see, it's connected.
Oh, okay, all right, yep.
Yep.
Okay. All right, okay, so there's one there.
So when we come back to
Okay.
preliminary plan, you'll have a water plan that's dedicated for just saying water, and the fire hydrants will be in red, so it'll stick out like a sore thumb.
Okay,
How many fire hydrants are recommended in something like this?
Well, we try to do them every I think it's 500 feet on center, and then most of the time at the intersections as well. I come from a fire department family, so I typically end up putting more in than most people have to put in, so.
that's fine.
I grew up with the fire marshal, My mom worked there for 35 years, so
Okay.
it comes natural.
All right, I don't have any more questions. Does anybody else have any more questions?
Chairman, I've got one I'd like to.
Yes.
We'll make sure I understood your presentation correctly. You've got 175 houses and it'd be 438 parking spaces, is that correct?
That's correct.
So it'd be the exact minimum the code requires?
That's correct.
Now, does that include the garage space as well?
It does.
Okay, so if we've got a situation where somebody wants to use their garage for storage and not park a vehicle there that has 2 cars, they're gonna have 1 space on their property and then they're gonna have to use one of the auxiliary lots, is
That's
that
correct.
correct? When I look at this, most of the auxiliary lots are located towards the entrance and there's only one that's not even halfway through, but there's really not much towards the rear. And I think your testimony was also that, your statements, I should say, were that the church that's adjacent would be using part of that parking lot for its services.
That's correct.
How many seats are at that church, do we know?
I have no idea.
Does that church have any of its own parking?
Very little.
Very little, okay.
Currently, they use his property currently for
Okay.
parking. So-
Because right now, that would be 1 seat, or, 1 space per 5 seats in whatever the church capacity is that code. The concern that I have, just looking at it pragmatically, is you're gonna run into a situation where people are gonna naturally wanna fill their garage up with bikes and whatever they've got. And you're gonna have people that are gonna have to find somewhere to park. And if you have a church that's gonna be using this, those patrons are gonna need to have a place to park. And I can see that being I can see it being a natural conflict in general, but adding the church right to use that on top of it can really create a situation where people are parking on the streets. And I'm also the son of a fireman. I can tell you that having emergency vehicles try to navigate down streets with vehicles parked and sometimes on both sides, that's a recipe for a disaster.
Great.
So has that been something that you all have thought about in the plan here, as far as, where parking is, can we get more parking on this? So, with this church being added to that could really complicate things.
Well, there's not much extra, there's about 4% in extra open space. So I would say that we can use that 4% and add more parking. You could probably get some here and then here.
How about with
But
these?
you're not gonna get a whole lot more parking with the current layout. I mean, we'd have to,
What about with these extension tails? If during, like this, you have this tail in the very back, that's never gonna go across the railroad tracks. If part of that got added, like one side of it, toward
we
81.
can add the extra parking in there. I mean, that's not a problem.
And same with the tail that's paved all the way down. Still have it paved, but just have it striped as parking. Because otherwise it's just a dead end. And that would, without chewing into your 4% too much. That's part of their 4% of they've got 4% left over on open space.
So you couldn't use
My other thing is,
Yeah.
you gotta take into consideration, that he's trying to do the right thing, be a good neighbor.
Yeah.
He doesn't technically have to give them any parking.
I understand
So,
that.
so, I mean, do you tell the church, hey, you can no longer park on my property? Or do you try to be the good neighbor? So, I'm playing devil's advocate here. I understand, I hear you. And if we can add more parking, we certainly will.
Yeah, I mean, particularly with there being some interconnectivity,
Yeah.
that can naturally be a throughway between communities at some point, as Mr. Westphal, 50 years down the road, you don't know what that'll look like. This is the planning commission, so we're trying to plan in advance and try to troubleshoot ahead.
Yeah.
So that's something that just really jumped out at me as something that I think should be strongly considered, so that it's not just jam-packed with houses and that there is sufficient open space and parking. The other part of it is some of your open space is in areas I wonder how usable it would be for like an active space?
Well, to be honest, I think that the tax ditch easements, this is my opinion only here, need to be utilized more than what they allow to be utilized for. I mean, they require them now to be clear cut. How many times do you see them clear cut? They're not unless people maintain them. They're putting in more regulations and talking about putting that in, that it has to be statements on the plan, that it has to stay maintained and clear cut. So if that's grass area, that's a lot of play area in that grass. Now, yes, it's next to a ditch.
And
We were all kids and played in the ditch when we were little.
I also know that those DNR regulations have changed and those types of rules have expanded areas that, perhaps would have been usable open space years ago, wetland buffers being a good example of that. So again, looking forward to that, I don't know that this commission can necessarily look at that buffer area as active open space.
Is that in your numbers as open space?
It is considered open space.
Okay.
I guess I'm looking at it from the standpoint of,
It would be passive, you can't call it active,
Yeah,
but I mean,
yeah.
it's still open space, I mean, it's part of his property, he owns it.
Right.
I mean, really the only active open space is
The
in the
walking
walking
trails,
trails in
the top lots,
Yeah,
and.
which are both there and
Right.
yeah, that's wonderful to see that, so. But those are just some comments I have,
Understood,
you know,
and
I don't.
definitely noted, if we can get more parking in there, we certainly will,
Primarily just because it's, like he said, that it's shared,
it is.
and that,
It's a-
yes, it
it's a great
technically,
comment, I'm not
it
arguing with that.
technically falls into the 2.5 per unit. And you're within the rules, and I think, you know, this is why we're doing this review. I do agree that if you can get some more, and it is true, some of your most of the lots are all towards the front. We have one on the north side, but this west side, there's no additional parking on the whole west side. So I think maybe if that tail that goes west towards the tracks, maybe turn that to parking instead of a tail. I know you have a couple of units right there, so it'd only be on one side, it'd be on the northern side of that tail. But that could get you some towards the back without really changing much. Just to look at a couple of spots like that where you might be able to tuck in, kind of like you did over here on the circle.
Yeah.
Where you tucked in a couple over here. Okay,
To try to fill it up that much, that's just gonna be a difficult issue to deal with.
neat.
It'll be interesting to see, you know, it's important, valuable to note, that this is a review. We're not voting on anything. You'll be going back to the drawing board, have lots of things happen, not just this, but lots of things, and this will change. And we'll be interested, it's now on the record that we've asked those questions. And that's what the record is for. We'll be glad to see your response to them. You'll develop an answer to us as well.
All right, if we have no more questions? No? Mr. Smoker, do you have any questions? Okay. Engineer?
I'm good.
Okay,
I have no further, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
okay. Town manager? Okay. All right, so I think we'll conclude this review. I think we've all got some good ideas. We would like to see, you know, a little bit more above the minimum on parking. I think that's just kind of where we're all at.
Now, just so I'm clear, with this meeting completed, we can move to preliminary plan? Is that how it works?
So the sketch plan, you can, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, that the sketch plan is advisory, so the next step would be for you to come back to preliminary with the advisements you received from
Just
the
with alignment with our submittal for plan.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Once again, how many parking places were there
Oh,
now?
what's your total
What
now?
was that
One
again?
The
or
total is 438,
Okay.
is what we have,
438? For 175.
for 175.
Well, 2.5 would be 437,
Right.
right at it.
So, yeah, if you could squeeze in a little bit more towards the west side, I think that'd make everybody happy.
I think, yeah.
Yeah. And you've done a good job with it.
Yes.
Get to work. And come on back and we'll work on it.
We'll figure it out.
We need this. I mean, we need this as the town.
All right. Mr. Kirk, are we done?
Thank you. With them.
Yeah.
But in looking at this and understanding what is my role, what do I use as criteria for assessment and so forth, I looked out and I got a list of ordinances and A dash whatever ordinances, and I'm gonna request, I'll have a list of things to be printed out, and it's a big stack. And there's a lot here to apply. One of the questions that in my mind came up, a lot that they have to comply with. Now, he exhibited a great deal of competence, you guys did, in understanding much more than I do. But I'm a planning commissioner, so I should have some knowledge of this. And I realize we're relying a lot on these forms. How did these get developed? Who developed them? Does anybody know?
Well, the forms are you talking about the application?
The application, and the application and major subdivision checklist, for instance.
So typically, those were something that were approved either by the council or the commission. I don't know if those have a notation on them as to when they were approved, but typically, maybe that's something the commission should want, may want to look at further, is do we need more information with our applications going forward? And periodically, the town will update those.
Well,
09,
Yeah, so,
they were approved in 09.
it may be worth revisiting the form to see if we need to update them.
because right now, at least from my standpoint, I'm relying a whole lot on this form covering everything that's legally required. As well as, now, he demonstrated competence to me. So, and that's another thing we're relying on, but I don't know the code well enough without these. So these have to be sufficient. These have to be sufficient.
Luckily, that's why you have a town engineer that's looking at these
Yeah.
things also. She's very familiar with the code, and will highlight things that are at issue. So, certainly, it's a good point, because it's something that, we can look at updating.
Yeah, we have some development coming in down the pike, and maybe we just want some more detail on those forms.
Well, yeah, the response to that though, is I want this not to be a huge, difficult
No, we don't want it.
So we've got to be careful on how we structure this so that it does get the information, but isn't onerous.
Would copies of the staff could provide copies of the sections of the code that are pertinent be helpful too?
Oh, yeah, I actually have a list. I made up a list, which I'll talk to Carolyn or, yeah.
And if I can say that the regulations since 2009, when these checklists were originally created,
Yeah.
have changed significantly.
Even in our own codes and acceptable uses and all that stuff has all
Yeah.
changed.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and, as, Council Lister has said, part of my responsibilities are to ensure that compliance with different ordinances of the town are met, as well as those conditions put on by outside agencies as part of their approval process. But there are ways to make these checklists still, user-friendly,
But
while still providing
concise.
additional information for the commission as part of your review of these projects.
Okay, that's something we'll look into.
Yeah.
I guess if each one of us would just take a look at it.
See,
And come back
you look
with
at my
notes.
list of what I'm asking to be published, and you say, oh, he's missing this, or he doesn't need that. I would defer to you, but,
So if each one of us will look at the current checklist that we have.
Are you finished with the list?
Yes, you are done with your review.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
Thank you.
If each one of us would just look at what we just got and just compare it to what we talked about, come back with any notes, put that on the agenda for our next meeting.
What was that?
Can we put on the agenda for our next meeting to, thank you, to come back with our notes on review of the checklist?
That you all are gonna come back with?
We're each gonna look at the checklist with what we just received and what we talked about and see if we have any notes ourselves.
And if, maybe if staff sees something.
Yeah, if anybody sees an issue. Town engineer, if you see an issue
Yeah.
that's something that should be on that form or something that doesn't need to be on that form.
I have a list.
Yeah, I know the town engineer and
I do see it.
we work with other governments, and one of the things that is sometimes helpful, it does put more of an onus on staff, which I don't want to put necessarily more on them than
Right.
they already have. But, there's typically presented with the materials, like a summary from the staff.
Mhm.
Just giving an idea that some of the bullet points, a lot of what the engineer went through today, the zoning district, the number of units, the number of, like that stuff, just in one spot. And also sections of the code that may be pertinent.
Okay.
Sometimes that's helpful. I know I've seen it in some of my other bodies,
Absolutely.
it's helpful, but
Maybe
it can be.
added to that checklist, an office use section for those kind of
Sure,
notes.
yeah.
A lot of times I see that as the staff report
Yes.
that comes,
Okay.
would be published as part of the packet that is presented.
Okay,
So that both the commission gets it, the public gets it, and the applicant would see that prior to the meeting, because that is part of that, so everyone can be prepared to answer any questions or come with any concerns regarding that.
okay. I like it. Let's all
Yeah.
review that at the next meeting. Everybody bring your notes, and we'll see if we can come up with something concise. All right, now that's done with. We now have public hearing for an ordinance amending ordinance A1, our zoning ordinance, to amend the list of permitted uses in the highway commercial HC zoning district. This list, sorry, my tongue decided not to work. This ordinance expands the list of permitted uses within the highway commercial zoning district to include retail sales, specialty stores, general merchandise stores, retail food stores, personal service establishments, repair and servicing as an accessory activity, and an outdoor display of merchandise. So I was looking at what we were given here.
I may be able to give you a little background on it too, Mr. Chairman.
I do understand that this was done once and it didn't quite go through the right process.
Yeah, it basically is what happened.
Yeah.
So.
So I consider that 36 through 49 is what's added.
Yeah, if I may,
Mhm.
just to give a little background, so in the fall of '24, the commission passed something that'll, basically, there was a recognition that there are things in the DC district that were permitted uses that were not permitted in the HC, and there's a recognition that maybe we ought to allow those in the HC as well. And there had been a discussion at the commission level to add that to the HC district. And you may note in your packet, there's actually a section for the HC, and it has some highlighted areas. That's the stuff that was added, or supposed to be added. But it never really got formalized as far as an ordinance introduction, a public hearing before you, a public hearing before council, and then a formal adoption. It was not something that came through me, so I didn't know how the sausage got made, but when we discovered that that hadn't been done the right way, we said, let's get it done the right way.
I do remember talking about this.
Yeah, and I'm sure you will, because it's not been that long ago.
No.
When I looked at it and brought it to council's attention, they said, well, take a look at, compare DC and HC, and there was some overlap. And I apologize, I thought I had it in my packet, in my materials, but I did not. I actually had kind of done a little spreadsheet or chart showing here are the permitted uses in the one, here's the permitted use in the others, and there were some that were overlapping. what council's instructions were was craft an ordinance that pulls those items in and uses terminology that's consistent with definitions in our code, and also, doesn't create duplicative or contrarian language.
Mhm.
So that's why it looks a little different than what the yellow highlighted language is. It is, I spent a good deal of time trying to make sure we had the right verbiage for that. So these are items that fit within those items that were listed, but have either better terminology or
Do we
better
have,
track.
do we have two different sets?
So the ordinance A1 is, or I'm sorry,
A24
is 2 pages.
Right,
And then behind that is a section starting, it says page 30 and 31 of the code, and then it goes a little further onto another page that has some highlighted, and there's basically 4 pages of what the code,
okay,
I say quotations looks like,
yeah,
because I don't think that language is properly
okay.
added.
And then the last 2 pages, which are 34, 35, is that just,
I believe that's what it looks like without the highlighted uses.
Okay, I had some trouble sorting
Yeah,
out these,
it's a little
Yeah,
confused.
6.5, 6.6,
I think that's
6.4.
been part of it, because the highlighted stuff, if you go, that stuff somehow made it into the universe, but it never got adopted to be in the universe.
And my question was we did 36 through 49 on this, where everything else, every other line has multiple things that fall, so these should all be under whatever we have as retail.
So what we did is, if you go under the new ordinance A24, we have general merchandise stores, and that's where, like, craft store, gift store.
Okay, so
That's-
this is the new one, the
That's right.
A24. This is what its current
Yeah.
iteration is. Okay, that's what we were trying to
So we're
figure
trying
out.
to give
Okay.
something that was clear, code. more
Okay,
consistent
yeah, so
with
that's
the
much
code.
more concise.
Yeah,
Now,
it doesn't add anything from prior, but it does clarify some things. Because there were some items that,
all right, now, I do see, you've got 1 and then, I forget what it's called, the 3 dots, and then hops right to 36.
yes, because it's, so we don't have to rewrite the entirety.
Okay,
Yeah, that's typical for a.
okay, so
ordinance.
at 36, it just changes
That's
from this
adding
block
one.
of
The
yellow
block of yellow will be replaced
by 36,
by
37.
the ordinance
Correct.
A24 that we're
Not so much
proposing and we have to
replaced,
agree for.
it just never,
It's
that word. was never
clarified.
Put in,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
So 38 says retail food stores, including bakeries, confectionery, candy, but it doesn't list their restaurants, but over here someplace else, I just saw that it did list restaurants, either fast food or,
I think those are already in there.
Yeah.
Restaurants,
okay,
if you go under,
I'm looking at just these 2. so-
yeah.
Okay,
it's
so
already
see
there.
here where it goes from 1?
Yeah.
And then it jumps to 36, so everything from 1 to 36 is
Is
still in
in,
there.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay,
1 to 35, yeah.
Okay,
yeah, okay,
Now,
that's
there
what I
was,
was missing.
there were some things like I edited to make it consistent, like outdoor display of merchandise.
mm-hmm,
It used to just say outdoor display of merchandise. Well, we have the if done in a reasonable manner, and that's consistent
right,
with where it is elsewhere in the code.
right.
So,
Sidewalks have to be kept clear,
yeah,
yeah, et cetera, yeah.
so,
I remember discussing that.
so we
with
just,
council.
it was more of a clarification and, again, nothing being added, but let's do it the right way, to have our code, you know, and it was brought to our attention, it was one of those things that kind of came up,
Yes,
and, you know, sometimes you discover these things, you say, let's get on it and correct it, and that's what this is.
last couple of years, we've done quite a lot of little cleanups.
And it's good to do that.
Yeah.
So, but unfortunately, it just didn't, you know, the process was, you know, we didn't go the right way, so. What we have tonight is a public hearing for anyone in the public who wishes to speak about that. After that's done, council, our commission can make a recommendation. Council will be holding a hearing on this tomorrow night.
Okay.
So it'd be nice to have a recommendation, so that council could hopefully vote on that tomorrow evening after their public hearing.
As far as I'm concerned, as long as everything that we had already agreed on is in the new verbiage and is obviously more concise, I'm in agreement. How about anybody else?
I think, Mr. Chairman, we do have to hold a public hearing, so I don't know if we do have a gentleman here, I don't know if he wishes to speak on it,
Yeah.
but you have to have it open for a
Yeah.
public hearing first.
Okay, so is there any public comment for the new ordinance A24?
Just do it. There you go, just do it.
Just do it. So I've already stated, I have, as long as everything has been copied over, but it's more concise, I don't have a problem with it.
I have a question that's not really related to the direct question at hand, but it's about the numbering system here. We've got 6.5 highway commercial district, and that goes 6.51, 6.52, and then 6.52 is fairly long. Pages
Yes.
33,
Yes.
goes to page 34, then 35. Then we have 6.6.4. Is that a typo, or is that,
Where do you see
is something
6.6?
on the top of page 35?
6.53,
That's another district.
that's special requirements.
Yeah, how does that fit in with the numbering system that's in place?
That's the next number.
No, 6.5.4 would be the next number. 6.6.4 should be underneath 6.6.
Mr. Wilson, I'll be honest, I have no idea where this 33, the last 3 pages comes from. I can tell you this, the numbering system, and again, if I had the wand and could just change the code, I would draft it in a much more concise way. But the numbering system is set up where 6.5.2, and then rather than going A or 6.5.2.1, as you normally would, it does these odd numbering things. As far
That's
as,
an existing issue, has nothing to do with
yeah,
this.
that's not
Yeah.
something that
It
we're,
is an existing issue. I want to raise it, because if that's supposed to be 6.5, if that stuff, those regulations are to be applied to the highway commercial district, it's one number, and if it's supposed to be applied to the manufacturing and light industrial district,
So-
it's a different number, and that's what the number is.
Mr. Westfall, I'm looking at the code right now, and it goes from
653 to 664.
6.5.4 is the next one on what I'm showing.
6.5.4, that would be correct. And that somehow, however it got on this paper.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So the dimensional regulations actually apply to the highway. And I haven't looked at the details in there.
Okay, that should be 654, not 6.
That's what I think.
I think there was
Because then we're going to 6.6 is the next section. So
Right.
that one under dimensional regulations, that is wrong. That should be 654, not 664.
Wrong, at least as far as what we have
As
here
far
to
as the
understand.
existing numbering
There may be other
system,
things we don't know about.
Yeah. I think probably what you're looking at was something that was an older, version
Yeah.
that's in there, because it's also not, you got
okay.
numbers 31 to 35, so.
Alright.
I was trying to figure this out this afternoon.
Yeah.
My papers got a little bit shuffled and I started to put them back together.
Easy
And,
to do.
it fried my brain a little bit.
All right, so, back to, we've opened the floor for public comment, there has been no comment. Are we in agreement for, recommendation to council?
Do we need a motion
Yes,
and
we
to
will.
vote on it?
Well,
vote
I'm just
to-
asking everybody first,
Okay,
if we are all
I
in
think so, I
agreement.
mean, it,
Okay, so then I need a
Yes.
motion to recommend to council the revised version of A24.
Well, I'll move to accept, the ordinance number 824 as the motion as written here.
Okay, do I have a second? Seconded. Ayes?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So pass. Recommendation to council. That brings us to the end of our evening. If we can have a motion for adjournment.
I motion we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Ayes?
Aye.
So moved. We adjourn at 7:31 PM. Thank you, everybody.